everybody. Welcome to today's show. With what I'm about to tell you, I'm telling you, this changes everything. The craziest thing is that we only know this by whistleblowers. They lied about Trump's protection. They lied about how many people were protecting him. They gave him little resources to protect himself. And they relied too much on local authorities rather than use actual Secret Service with the right intel and the right communications to protect the former president. This is downright wrong, and it came from Mayorkas and the Biden-Harris administration and the director of the Secret Service. We have all this information for you in just a moment. We also have it where Congress Oversight Committee Chairman is bringing in the FEMA directors to demand to answer questions before Congress and the American people over what has happened and to audit the entire FEMA system to make sure that only FEMA funds are designated for Americans and not being used to bring in migrants from other countries as a relocation program. We also have it where the FBI director is asked point blank if there were FBI operatives in the January 6th riot, and he can't say no. He doesn't answer the question. It's simple, but he can't even answer to the American people that there weren't any. So we can assume that there probably were. We got a lot of breaking news for you today. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. We want to serve you every day with the top news. I want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. Thank you. The link is in the description to join. We're here to serve you. And thank you to everybody that blesses the channel with the super chat donation. We're going to be making a huge donation to the hurricane victims in a couple of weeks. And I just appreciate all your support and help. But we've got a lot of breaking news. Let's jump into it. Check this out.
And tonight, another whistleblower has come forward to Senator Josh Hawley, revealing disturbing allegations about the Secret Service. In a letter to Acting Director Rowe, Hawley wrote that a Secret Service whistleblower has alleged the agency blocked multiple DHS auditors from accessing certain Trump campaign events, and that they did this because former President Trump was not receiving the full level of protection at all of his events. Also breaking today, an Afghan national living in Oklahoma arrested, charged with plotting a terror attack on Election Day in the U.S. on behalf of ISIS. He entered the country under Harris and Biden just weeks after their disastrous with Afghanistan withdrawal. Here now with more, Senate Homeland Security Committee member Josh Hawley. Senator, what are we learning here? Because I know from people around President Trump that they have repeatedly requested more security, and they have been denied again and again and again and again. Why would they do that?
Wow.
You know, Sean, it sounds like he's still not getting the security that he's been promised. And here's what this new whistleblower says. He says that investigators are now not allowed to come to all the Trump rallies because if they did, they would see that Trump is not getting the full presidential protective detail. He's only getting it selectively. So the allegation is Secret Service leadership is now saying to its own internal investigators, no, actually, wait, don't come to that event. Come to this one over here. And they're trying to conceal the fact Trump is still not getting the full levels of protection. I don't know why they're doing this, Sean, other than that they don't want the public to know the truth. And I tell you what, I've had enough of this from Secret Service leadership. I really have. They need to level with the American people about what's going on here. They need to tell us if Trump is really getting all the security he needs. These rallies need to be safe for everybody who goes to them. And I've had enough of the prevarication, of the concealment, and the stonewalling. It's got to stop.
Well,
I have to say this. What more can you do? If Biden could easily have said, give him presidential treatment on the Secret Service, and it would have been done. But they went through Congress. They passed a bill in the House, in the Senate. Biden signed it to give all candidates and former President Trump presidential Secret Service treatment. And they're still not doing it. I'm telling you, there's somebody in this Congress, in this whole thing. They don't like Trump. They don't want to take care of him. And we're seeing the facts before our eyes.
Off the site at Butler when you went days after the shooting that took place there, the assassination attempt there, which is unconscionable to me. We know he's being denied, but we also know one other thing, and it's been widely reported, that there are Iranian assassination squads in the country targeting Donald Trump. With that knowledge, how is it possible that Trump International, a known area where people, paparazzi, hide, that area was never swept by the Secret Service? How is that possible? How is it possible a guy gets within 130 yards of Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, with a rifle in what would be a tap-in putt for somebody? How is all this going on?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. And just to take the Trump International incident, I mean, think about this, Sean. Another whistleblower, different one, tells me that it is standard protocol at that golf course, which Trump plays all the time, by the way, as you know. It's standard protocol to sweep it before Trump gets onto the course. It's also standard protocol to post up agents at those places along the course where they know that there's a clean line of sight. And they didn't do any of those things. I mean, Sean, what is going on here? I mean, we've got to get the facts. We need answers. And all we're getting from the leadership of the Secret Service is more stonewalling. They're not answering questions. They're not cooperating with investigators. Now it looks like they're trying to mislead their own internal investigators. My gosh, this has got to stop. And this Director Rowe, he's got a lot to answer for, Sean. I mean, I have to tell you, I am losing confidence in him by the minute.
He said after the Trump International course incident that everything worked perfectly. If that's perfect, how do you define imperfect?
We're in a bad state, y'all. I've got whistleblower leaks on the January 6th to show you. There's more leaks on the border. Like, today's a crazy day because a lot of this stuff just changes everything in the perception of people, how they look at the Secret Service, how they look at the border, the FEMA directors. I mean, it is literally, we're in such a bad spot when it comes to this government over how, President Trump is actually being protected. Like, it literally blows my mind that we can go for so long and Trump's not protected. He's not getting the protection that he needs. And people just expect this to continue. Just continue. And we just have to say, is it intentional? Because that's what everybody's thinking. Because if it was protocol for them to do what? To post up and to make sure he's protected and they didn't do it, then whose call was it? If it was protocol to make sure that they had a certain number of people on the roofs, in the locations where there were high-risk targets and they were told not to, then who's going to be held accountable to this? Because I'm telling you this, the more and more that we get into all this stuff and the more and more stuff that leaks, unfortunately, we always find it out by whistleblowers, but it just shows us that there's a lot of people that don't like Trump, that don't want him to win the presidency, and we need to get some answers because I'm seriously just nervous about where things are at and how things are going to carry out. Check this out.
Okay? Because we've got a freaking election to win, and it is the most consequential election of our lifetime because we are running against an actual imbecile who will have the nuclear codes. This woman, I'm convinced every day, not only has no aptitude, she's got a little bit of achievement. I will give her that. She's got she's got her law degree, whatever. Let's not run away and pop the champagne bottles. She has no aptitude. She has no resume. She has no CV. She has no leadership skills. And I'm really starting to question if this woman is even of average IQ. She is a moron. Who does this on a nationally televised late night show that, maybe 1 million people watch? It's not that big of an audience. Used to be bigger. Here's Stephen Colbert, whatever his name, I don't know. He tries to sound smart. Here she is whipping out yet another accent. We're going to try to get a compilation for tomorrow's show of all the Kamala accents. This is real. This is not AI. You really believe this is going to be your next president? Check this out.
Have empathy, man?
Yes.
For the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
Folks.
Becky Gavon, thank you so much for the super chat. Everybody show Becky some love in the chat.
How many fake accents are we going to have to put up with? Who does this? See, most of you hang around with average to high average to above average IQ people.
Golly.
You don't do this when you're drunk on a couple of PBRs, okay? Nobody does this. Why does she continue to do this? The answer is because she's an idiot. She has no, you know what social IQ is? You can go read books about it. Social intelligence. It is a really important feature some people have. Very successful people have it. They may not be mathematicians, engineers. They may not have the highest actual IQ, but they have an amazing ability to interact with people. And what they can do is they can get in other people's heads, basically, and see how other people see them. So when they're talking too much at, say, a group function, they can sense other people are frustrated with them and they shut up. Low social IQ people, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you see they have this feature where they just don't understand that they sound like idiots. This woman is not a leader. This is not what leadership looks like.
No.
The word has gone out now that she may have skipped some operational briefings before Helene and these storms, that she skipped them. She's the vice president of the United States. This woman.
That's a whistleblower leak, y'all, that there was plenty of meetings, preparedness for the hurricanes to come. And instead of being there and making sure she knew what was going on and being a good leader, she literally skipped the meetings on the hurricane briefs. And now, why do you think Hurricane Helene was such a mess?
Is not a leader. Every single thing Joe Biden has done to you, the border, the public safety crisis, the global chaos, the inflation crisis, the record historic deficits. You see, we're at 1.83 trillion annual deficits this year alone. This is crazy. She has been at the table as the final person in the room okaying all of this. That's not what leadership looks like. This is what leadership looks like. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis down here in Florida, who's no time. Here's DeSantis telling Kamala, unless you're down here to make decisions and allocate resources, stop wasting my mother time and calling us. You're wasting our time. Listen to this.
My focus has not been on dealing with Kamala Harris. I saw the news report. I didn't know she tried to contact me. But I'd also say it's not about you, Kamala.
Right.
It's about the people of Florida. My focus is exactly where it should be. And I can tell you this. I've worked on these hurricanes under both President Trump and President Biden. Neither of them ever tried to politicize it. She has never called on any of the storms we've had since she's been vice president until apparently now. Why all of a sudden is she trying to parachute in and inject herself when she's never shown any interest in the past? We know it's because of politics. We know it's because of her campaign. I have zero time to entertain these political games. We're going to continue to do what we need to do to prepare and respond to what may be one of the most damaging storms in the history of the United States. So she says focusing on protecting your people is selfish. I think she ought to look in the mirror.
Verdict is in. Kamala sucks. That is how it's done.
100%.
They've got electrical linemen, heroes, by the way. Love you guys and ladies out there. To the linemen out there getting ready to restore power to the state of Florida, God bless you. God bless you. To all the truckers out there getting ready, lining up, getting ready to restock the stores so people down here can eat and get gas again. God loves you. We love you, man, our audience. Thank them in the chat. Thank them in the chat because that's what we do here. America's full of heroes who work every day. And these politicians are not them. Are not them. This is how you prepare a state for a disaster. You get out there in front of the people every year. What's Kamala Harris doing? She's faking a Jamaican accent, drinking beer on Stephen Colbert's show. Folks, the Democrats hate you. I am sorry. Thank you, folks in the chat. I really appreciate it. You guys are good folks. I meant it. And you linemen and you in the chat and you truckers out there, know we love you. You work for a living. And by the way, I don't care what your party registration is. I care that you work for a living, okay? I care that you work for a living. I want you to know you always have a home here. I come from a family of people who work for a living. My dad was a plumber. My mom worked at checkout counter in a finest supermarket. My brother's an electrician. I was a cop. My other brother was an agent. We're not some family of silver spoon babies. I get it, man. This is why we're all frustrated and pissed off at all these losers, folks. The Democrat Party freaking hates you. I am sorry to tell you this. They hate you. Why do they want to tax you more? Because the Democrat Party says, you mother are too stupid to spend your own money. Give it to us. Why won't they let you pick where your kid goes to school and they hate school choice? Because they're like, you dumb mother, you guys don't know where to send your kids to school. We're going to tell you. Why does Kamala Harris want to ban private health care? Because she's like, you dumb, you don't know how to pick your own doctor. I'm going to do it for you. They hate you.
I mean, let me tell you this. The more and more, think about it. The more and more the government steps in, they want to control people's lives. They want to pick everything for you. They want to raise more taxes and whatnot. Why? Because they don't think that you can do it yourself. But this is the thing. Things have been such a screw up under this administration. Now, the chairman in the Congress has come out and said we are going to, of the Oversight Committee, has said that we are going to subpoena the FEMA directors to come and testify before Congress over this just debacle, this fiasco, horrible carrying out of FEMA during these hurricanes. Check this out.
On the ground.
Do you feel that FEMA is doing as much as it could? I mean, look, you hate to question FEMA now in the middle of a natural disaster, but FEMA is under fire, you know that, for the response to this hurricane season, particularly Hurricane Helene. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is calling for FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell to testify next month when the storms are history about the federal government's response. Watch this.
We have a lot of questions for FEMA, and I don't think anyone in Congress in either party can answer specifically where they spend their money. I certainly plan on bringing the FEMA director in mid-November. We don't want to do anything to hinder the efforts that are ongoing now, but I think a lot of these questions hopefully will get answered in the middle of November. At the end of the day, I think we need to have a complete review of FEMA, just like we did with the Secret Service when the House Oversight Committee brought in Kimberly Cheadle.
So what about that, Congressman? What has the coordination been like with federal agencies on the ground?
Yeah, there's no coordination with them. I still have a county that was hit by Hurricane Ian over 2 years ago that still haven't gotten reimbursed from FEMA.
Wow.
The assets on the ground are your state.
Did y'all hear that? A county 2 years ago hit by a hurricane still hasn't gotten their money from FEMA. Why? Because they've been giving it and using it to bring in illegal migrants and bring them into the United States instead of taking care of American people. How are their dang priorities so messed up?
Your local municipalities, FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security are more concerned about resettlement of illegal immigrants that they have led into our country than they are American citizens. And you're seeing that after Helene all the way across the Southeast, and you're seeing that here with the prep of these storms. The Florida Department of Emergency Management is the boots on the ground as it relates to response to this. The Florida National Guard and your local law enforcement and emergency responders. I can go on a FEMA call. They have FEMA calls every couple of days, and it's basically just coordinating what already we have assets on the ground. And it's really, really frustrating when you see Secretary Mayorkas shifting funds to pay for illegal immigrants resettlement and not paying out where American citizens are getting absolutely catastrophically clobbered by hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean, look, the White House is trying to push back on this idea that they used FEMA money to house for and care for illegal migrants, Congressman. And, we know the truth because KJP laid it all out 2 years ago as far as what they were doing. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre, White House spokesperson in 2022. Watch this.
FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. We'll continue to do what we can as a federal government to support these cities as we rebuild our asylum processing system after it was gutted by the Trump administration.
So what about that, Congressman? You know, she claims that it was gutted before they got there. They just gutted it. Alejandro Mayorkas the other day told us FEMA is almost out of money. So, I mean, does it matter that it's a different fund, one for food assistance and another fund that's earmarked for something else at FEMA? Bottom line is they were using FEMA money to care for and house illegal migrants when American citizens are, you know, desperate for help.
Yep, that's right. Bottom line is they were using FEMA money that is made for people, Americans, that are gotten hit by a natural disaster for illegal immigrants, resettlement, and housing. That's what they were doing. They admitted it. They have admitted it. And this is the danger of passing these CRs. These CRs continue these programs. The bill that I voted for, which was the Republican bill on the Homeland Security bill, defunded the resettlement program and would have taken that money and kept it in FEMA, not in this resettlement of immigrant program that they created. And that's why we can't continue to fund continuing resolutions to fund the government, because you're continuing to fund these programs. But the bottom line is this administration has a priority of resettlement of illegal immigrants and not a priority of American citizens that have been hit by a natural disaster.
Why? I mean, what's the logic?
I think
we all know the logic.
Illegals to come into our country so they can then give them the ability to vote. You've seen that in California. You've seen that in New York. It's a political calculation that they've made. Why would you let in 380 known terrorists into our country, 15,000 criminals into our country if you cared about the safety and security of the American people?
I have no answer for that. You're right, Congressman.
Let me tell you this. This makes no sense. Like, if you were to ask the average American people, hey, all the taxpayer dollars, should they be used to bring in illegals and migrants into the country and give them housing assistance, Medicare, food stamps, or should we use it to help out our other American brothers and sisters whenever they really need it in these disaster areas? There wouldn't even be no question. But how is it that it feels like, as the American people, we don't even, like, we have to vote. We have to make sure our voice is heard. But whenever it comes to these certain administrations, they use our taxpayer dollars, and nobody would ever before that. They would say, take care of our veterans, take care of our kids, make sure that no child goes hungry. Stop bringing in more people into our country using our taxpayer dollars when we can't even take care of them ourselves. You want to know the facts? Real quick, Sandra Mario Enzi, thank you so much for the super chat. She said, please pray, pray, pray. I 100% agree. Everybody, show Sandra some love in the chat. Check this out, because this is what actually happened. This is why we're in the mess that we are in now. Check this out.
Visited the southern border and embraced President Biden's recent crackdown on asylum seekers. This was his break glass in case of emergency plan he did, like in June, recognizing that he was losing and that he needed to shore up the border because it was turning into the number one issue for Democrats. So he started banning asylum seekers with executive order. And he says, and that crackdown produced an almost immediate and dramatic decrease in the number of border crossings. If that's the right answer now, why didn't your administration take those steps in 2021? This is okay. It's an okay question. However, there's a lot more to the story that did not make its way into this piece. She says the following: the first bill we proposed to Congress, the first bill was to fix our broken immigration system, knowing that if you want to actually fix it, we need Congress to act. It was not taken up. Okay, let's start right there. Here is what actually happened when they took office in January of 2021. She and Joe Biden immediately, via his executive order, moved to suspend remain in Mexico for all asylum seekers, which under Trump required them to stay in Mexico. So if it got denied, they wouldn't be our problem. They'd be Mexico's. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got rid of that. They halted construction of the border wall. Day one. February 2021. So within weeks of taking office, they initiated a review of policies that have effectively closed the U.S. border to asylum seekers.
They removed the stain on our reputation.
With the stroke of his pen on Tuesday, President Joe Biden began the difficult process of rolling back some of former President Donald Trump's most controversial immigration policies. signing 3 executive orders.
We're going to work to undo the moral and national shame of the previous administration.
Biden also ordered a review of asylum processing at the U.S.-Mexico border and the immigration system. Less than 2 weeks on the job, but Biden aides say they need time to unravel layers of Trump-era immigration restrictions to put in place new, more migrant-friendly systems.
He and she undid it. That's what was happening when they took office. They began a review of the fast-track deportation procedure known as expedited removal, which allows immigration authorities to remove an individual without a hearing before an immigration judge. They got rid of that. They expanded the U.S. refugee admissions program and rescinded Trump's policies that limited refugees.
Oh, sorry, y'all.
And required additional vetting.
You see, it was all by design. There is no, this isn't no, it just happened. This isn't no, that it wasn't, it was by mistake. No, they opened the borders. They let people come in. Now they're trying to give them mass amnesty. Now they're trying to turn the pages and say they're going to be tough on the border. No, if people believe this, you need help. If you believe that this wasn't done intentionally, if you believe that they're truly going to be tough on the border, you need prayer. Because right now, we have all these problems. We have all this redirection of taxpayer-funded money away from Americans, away from the people who actually paid into the dang system, away and giving it to somebody else. That's what our administration has done, and I hope to God Trump wins in a landslide because this isn't right. Check this out.
Helena Haba, Trump 2024 senior advisor. Good to have you with us, Helena. There's been criticism about former President Trump, and Cedric was touching on it there, and what he has said about the ability for the administration to respond to this issue. What do you say to that?
It's very simple. Let's talk about facts. Cedric's saying there's misinformation. Let's talk about information that is undisputable. While Helene was happening, Kamala decided it was more important to go on a podcast about sex, call her daddy. When Helene was happening, President Biden was nowhere to be found. So now we have retake. By the way, this morning, The View, Kamala saying President Trump lacks empathy. That one was Rich. He's the person that's helped with Elon Musk get everybody's Starlinks. So I'm talking facts. And honestly, what Governor DeSantis said was perfect. This is not the time to politicize. This is not the time to try and get a point ahead of your other opponent. It's the time to get dirty and go help people. And that's what President Trump has done. He hasn't tried to make phony phone calls to look good to the media. He's gotten out there. He's going out there. We have people in North Carolina from the campaign, from the RNC, out there helping with their hands, buying things, coordinating with Elon Musk. That is a
What is that campaign effort like in Western North Carolina?
Well, we had people bringing in, I'm sure you saw Laura Trump took a team out there on the ground with the campaign, with the RNC, and she did a tremendous job. You know, she's from North Carolina, so that's home for her. And Western North Carolina got hit really hard. And like you said, these are real people with real issues. They don't need a $750 handout for a press headline. They need help. They need water. There are still people missing. There are babies floating in the water. And we're on podcasts. That's what the Harris team is doing. So I think what Cedric's doing is completely irresponsible.
Where did you see that report of a baby floating in the water?
We have absolutely heard there are children floating. There's missing bodies, dead bodies. We know that. There are dead people. We're up to 200.
It's so heartbreaking, y'all.
Yeah, 32. Thank you. So this is the problem. It's not misinformation, it's fact. And to talk about Katrina, well, I'm really glad you're dealing with your trauma from Katrina, but we have problems happening now. We've got to deal with things now. And I think Governor DeSantis is doing exactly what you should be doing. But frankly, that should be coming from FEMA, like you said. That should be coming from the top. And what he's doing is a great example for the country. What President Trump did, getting in there, using the money, using his resources to give them things they need. Electricity, power, that's the things they need. There are children there missing. It's just a fact.
I mean, we need to learn a lot more about that. We talked to a woman whose mother was missing yesterday, who was hanging onto a wall that slammed into a tree, and she and her husband were separated. That we, can document because we know the people that were involved in it, and we hope that some of these other horror stories are not true, but we're still getting in more information on all of this. I want to put up a recent poll. This is New York Times Siena, which shows Harris ahead by 3 points among likely voters, 49-46 in that current polling. And one of the questions that is being asked today by Mark Thiessen of the Washington Post has to do with Nikki Haley, who we're going to talk to in a minute. So I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Mark Thiessen writes this: Trump should deploy her to key battleground states for the next 4 weeks to convince the reluctant but persuadable 18% of the electorate to cast their ballots for him. Failure to do so would be sheer political malpractice. It could very well cost him the presidency. That's Mark Thiessen writing a column for the Washington Post. What's your reaction to that? Is that going to happen, first of all?
I'm not going to speak to what his plan is, but WAPO is pretty rich to be giving President Trump advice.
Well, that's Mark Thiessen, who's a contributor here at Fox.
Okay, but well, all I can tell you is this. We are all for anybody who's trying to save America. And Nikki Haley, if she's on that camp today and she's willing to come out and help save America, God bless, let's go. Because we are in a state of crisis. We have seen people come out, actors, actresses, that know that it'll hurt their career and support Donald Trump. We are in a state of crisis.
She said she was standing by and happy to help.
Love
that was a few weeks ago.
Love that.
But you don't know if there's any plan at this point.
I do not know of any plan at this point.
All right, Aline.
Let me tell you this. We haven't heard anything from Oprah. Haven't heard anything from George Clooney. Haven't heard anything from all of these big name left progressive celebrities who you would think in this time of need, where people truly need it, that they would be coming out, lending a hand and making sure that people are taken care of. But guess what? All the states that got hit, they're red states. You don't hear nothing about it. And is it sucks to say that? That's just what a lot of people are saying online. And it's what a lot of people feel. And to the fact of that, there's also the fact that more leaks are coming out on Kamala Harris, that she 100% blew off the hurricane relief response. Check this out.
Again, as she said on The View, there's not a thing she would have done differently, which brings us back to her administration's terrible hurricane response, the worst in American history. Did you know that Kamala Harris regularly skipped the hurricane preparedness briefings? Too busy hanging out with her Hollywood friends. And it kind of seems pretty important now, doesn't it? Well, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Pay attention closely. Under Biden and Harris, FEMA, they had a preoccupation. That preoccupation was with woke politics. The information is right there on FEMA.com. They're calling it fake news, but it's in their own words. There are 3 stated goals on FEMA's website. Quote, instill equity as a foundation of emergency management. According to the wordy description, this goal is about prioritizing and tailoring emergency management for certain races and gender identities. The second goal, quote, lead whole of community and climate resilience. Now, of course, this was all about the left and their religious obsession about global warming and climate change. The very last goal is about emergency preparedness. So you can see what the administration is prioritizing. How about this? How about if there's a natural disaster like there's been in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida? How about you help out every American in need? And how about you not steal the money from FEMA and give it to your unvetted illegal immigrants from 180 countries? Because their illegal immigrants seem to be prioritized and are way more important than the American people, the people that are now currently suffering and not getting the help they need in spite of proclamations to the contrary. You have DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas saying FEMA's running out of money and going bankrupt. This has not been a busy hurricane season. This after the FEMA directed more than $1 billion to pay for housing and food for Harris-Biden illegal immigrants. Because this story looks really bad for Democrats in charge. They are trying to just outright lie to you and pretend this is misinformation. This is a deep fake statement by conservatives. Well, it's also on the FEMA website. It's completely truthful. It's completely real. Just like Hunter Biden's laptop was not misinformation, but very real. Democrats, the state-run media mob, they simply lie. They push propaganda before elections. Here we go again. But an April press release from FEMA's own website, let me read it to you. It states the following. Today, the Department of Homeland Security through FEMA and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced $300 million in grants through the Shelter and Services Program, which was authorized by Congress to support communities that are providing services to migrants. Let me interpret. That means illegal alien, a word that Kamala wants you to be courageous enough to never use, like radical Islamic terrorists.
Y'all remember in the White House press briefing we showed where Karine Jean-Pierre was bragging that, oh, we've sent North Carolina money. We're doing our job. Congress is doing their job. And yet they still don't have enough. And then you see stuff like this on their own dang website. It's like they're spitting in the face of American taxpayers. And guess what? What I want to know is we've got to change government so that we can actually vote on this type of crap. Because it just blows my mind. We have real Americans in need, and they can't get the help that they need.
To be courageous and never use that word either. It goes on. Additionally, DHS is announcing $340.9 million through the Shelter and Services Program and their competitive grant program to be allocated before the end of the fiscal year. The last 2 years, over $1 billion from FEMA to help Harris and Biden illegal immigrants. It is not a deep fake. It's not misinformation. It is the truth. This is the Biden-Harris administration caught red-handed dedicating a massive amount of money that was supposed to be there for emergency relief for Americans in North Carolina, Georgia, and elsewhere to dispense to illegal immigrants while hurricane-ravaged victims all over the country are left out to dry. Again, it's about their priorities. And under Biden and Harris, the American people also seem to come last. Now, earlier today, Sarah Carter, she was asking North Carolinians about FEMA's lackluster response. Here is what they had to say. Take a look.
A lot of residents have felt, when I speak to them, they say, you know what, it's been 12 days. I feel abandoned. I haven't seen any response. Now some response is coming through. Some FEMA representatives are down on the ground. But it's been 12 days later. Should have been sooner.
It should have been immediate. It should have been immediate. And I'll tell you what, thank God for the people of North Carolina, the residents, the fire chiefs.
Wow.
We have the two best fire chiefs in this area in the world. I mean, the response time from our citizens, our residents, they're supporting us. I mean, that's who's going to rebuild this community.
President Biden
basically
made a statement saying that people are getting what they need, that they're happy. Are you getting what you need? Are you happy?
Absolutely not.
No.
We're getting what we need, but it's from people in Chimney Rock, like not from the government.
Like the basic necessities from your friends.
Yeah, yeah.
But the bigger picture, no.
We're
not happy.
No.
The message right now is just help. I mean, there's really not much more I can say. We need help. You know, we're American citizens. We're hardworking. We do our jobs. You know, we volunteer. We're part of the community, part of the team, and we just need support. I mean, I've never really asked for anything in my life, and now I'm asking.
I'm telling you, it's like this. Somebody posted this on X, and it's heartbreaking, y'all. Look at this. They said, and the revolution was fought over 2% tax. That's what started the American Revolution, a 2% tax on tea. Look at this. My tax dollars, somehow also my tax dollars, because remember, we're helping Israel fight Hamas, Iran. Well, guess what? We just gave almost $400 million to the country of Lebanon. Well, who is Lebanon run by? Run by Hezbollah. Who is Hezbollah? Who are they funded by? They're funded by Iran. And then look at this picture below. This is somehow none of my tax dollars. Like, this right here is why we need leadership change. This is heartbreaking. But the thing is it's the truth. And that's why what you're about to see next is super important.
Because this really was part of their branding campaign. Kamala Harris, the change agent, and in the new New York Times Siena poll, she does best Donald Trump as being the change candidate somehow among likely voters by 2 points. What's going on there?
Well, I don't believe that poll at all. And by the way, don't take my word for it. Take Joe Biden's word for it, because he's the one who told us the other day, Laura, that Kamala Harris has been there side by side with him, making all the decisions, of course, that we've seen in that White House. No one believes that there will be any sort of change with Kamala Harris.
No.
The people of this country are begging for Donald Trump to go back in that White House. You were in Butler the other day. You saw the crowd in Butler. That was the biggest crowd I've ever seen at a Trump rally. I couldn't even see the end of it when I was standing up there on stage. Everywhere I go, people are desperate and they can't afford a Kamala Harris presidency. Look, we're talking about this person trying to get through an interview, let alone do the actual job of being president of the United States, our commander in chief, the leader of the free world. No one buys that Kamala Harris has the capability to do that job. And polls like that, I think, are absolutely ridiculous. I get slipped beverage napkins every time I get on an airplane saying we can't wait to vote for Trump, go Trump, Trump 2024, or people just coming up to me these days, Laura, everywhere I go, saying how excited they are to get out and vote early when you go vote for Donald Trump.
Early as possible.
Now, I want to turn to, we obviously are seeing a horrific hurricane bearing down on Florida now, but we still have North Carolina and the other states affected by Hurricane Helene. Washington Examiner is saying, Laura, that there are 1.2 million registered voters across the 25 disaster counties in western North Carolina as of Sunday. Now, of that total figure, about 491,000 voters were unaffiliated with a party and made up the largest share of the region's voters. Republicans comprised the second highest share of the voters at almost 481,000, and then 294,000 for Democrats. Trump won North Carolina in 2020 by a mere 75,000 votes. Is this a problem, given the fact that we have a lot of voters who are without homes and, frankly, without resources today in North Carolina?
Yeah, well, listen, obviously, priority number one is making sure that everyone is safe, any rescue that needs to happen happens, and that we're thinking about the well-being of people before politics. That said, I get this question quite a bit. You can imagine this is my home state, North Carolina, and as a co-chair of the RNC, we've thought extensively about this, and that's why today we sent out a memorandum to Governor Roy Cooper and the North Carolina General Assembly, asking them, giving them 10 different points in terms of things that we hope they enact and put in place right now to ensure voter access, because we don't want people who have gone through a horrific tragedy like a hurricane and really lost so much already to lose their ability to vote in this election. So some of these things include allowing folks who have been displaced from their voting county to vote in other counties, or maybe turn an absentee ballot in other counties, or allowing some of these counties where they've had destruction to use temporary locations or a new location for voters to access. And by the way, I want to let everyone know out there, if you want to be part of a team to help us get access to people in Western North Carolina and likely coming up in Florida who have been displaced, their ability to vote, come join us. DonaldJTrump.com/hurricane is a new site we have up right now. Laura, people can volunteer to help us and make sure that these people indeed have an opportunity to vote. It is absolutely vital in an election like this. We cannot leave a single vote on the line, and that's why we're asking everybody to come join our team.
And Laura, does this also mean that legal challenges could be in the offing filed by the Trump campaign or others to ensure that as they're dealing with all of the other nightmares they're dealing with because of these natural disasters, they are still able to vote? There are a lot of folks that came up to me in Butler were very worried about that. And I just want to ensure that that's happening.
Oh, we've not been shy with the lawsuits. I think we're at 109 right now at the RNC.
Wow.
So yes, if needed, we will take legal action. We hope we don't have to go that path. We hope that they do the right thing and make sure that every person in North Carolina and other affected states have the opportunity to vote. We're here to make sure they do, certainly from the RNC side.
Laura,
man, I'm telling you what, this right here, what you're about to see, this is the difference between leadership and just for a photo op. DeSantis is on the left. This is him helping out, delivering supplies to the victims. Kamala is on the right, sharing a beer with Stephen Colbert. It says one is the leader and the other one's a joke. Like this to me, I'm so surprised that I'm not seeing like Biden nor Harris help out or do more for the hurricane victims. Like where they're at, they need help more than ever. And what's even worse, so they just had this congressional meeting. They had it over the January 6th riots. This guy is asking and talking to the FBI director over were there FBI operatives within the crowds. Because what we heard was there was FBI operatives that were inciting the crowd to go and do violence. That's what we heard. And this is what he's asking. Listen to their response.
What I say. To which I said, it should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol on January 6th. A year has passed. We sit here again a year later, we the people, still do not have a definitive answer from you or anyone else in the Biden administration regarding the FBI presence and participation in the months leading up to the November election and in the weeks and days prior to January 6th and on January 6th here in D.C. We can't get a straight answer, although we have a tremendous amount of evidence harvested and reviewed over the course of the last year, which you will see. In September, Stephen D'Artano, formerly in charge of the FBI's field office in Washington, D.C., testified to the House Judiciary Committee that he was aware the FBI informants would attend the Stop the Steal rally thrown on January 6th. You confirmed that the FBI had confidential human sources at the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th here in D.C., sir?
Congressman, as we've discussed before, I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used confidential human sources. But what I can tell you,
on.
You asked for a definitive
We'll move
answer.
on. It's my time. You said no, you're not going to answer. That's cool. We're watching.
Mr. Chairman, may I answer the question?
The moment will come. This is my time. Earlier this year, an FBI informant who is reported to have, quote, his quote, under oath, marched to the U.S. Capitol with fellow Proud Boys members on January 6th, close quote. He said he was communicating with his FBI handler while people were entering the U.S. Capitol. Can you confirm that the FBI had that sort of engagement with your own agents embedded into the crowd on January 6th?
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not.
no?
No.
You're saying no?
Not
Okay.
violence orchestrated
Let's
by
move
FBI
on.
sources or agents.
Are you familiar with you know what a ghost vehicle is? Director of the FBI certainly should. You know what a ghost bus is?
A ghost bus?
Ghost bus.
I'm not sure I've used that term before.
Okay. Well, it's pretty common in law enforcement. It's a vehicle that's used for secret purposes. It's painted over. These two buses in the middle here, they were the first to arrive at Union Station on January 6th, 0500. I have all this evidence. I'm showing you a tip of this iceberg.
Mr. Chairman.
These two buses
Mr.
are
Chairman.
painted completely white.
Point of order. Point of order. Sure.
Run over. Do y'all see this, guys? I'm telling you this. This is the type of news, this is the type of things going on you're not going to see on the mainstream media. But it's them going after these directors that have done things, that have not been held accountable, that need to be held accountable. And look, when they're about to go at it, they're trying to stop the meeting now.
I understand, but you'll recall that Ms. Jackson Lee's been allowed to go 2 minutes before. I've been very fair in letting people finish their questioning throughout my tenure as chairman, and I'll continue to be fair on that regard. But I will make a note to the members, if you could stay as close within your time as possible. We have a lot of people that want to ask these gentlemen questions. So with that, the gentleman yields. But your point, I've been very fair in this, Mr. Ivey, with everybody on this side of the aisle just as much.
I don't think I accuse you of being unfair, Mr. Chairman.
You're making a point. Okay, thank you. I now recognize Mr.
May I
Gray.
close this statement, Mr.
No,
Chairman?
I think your time is expired, Mr.
I note that other members across the aisle have been granted time, and I object to my question being closed. This is a very significant hearing, Mr. Chairman, and these buses are nefarious in nature and were filled with FBI informants dressed as Trump supporters and deployed onto our Capitol on January 6th. Your day is coming, Mr. Ray.
You hear that? Your day is coming, Mr. Ray. We need more of these people like him, Josh Hawley, like J.D. Vance, like Vivek, these people that are going to hold them accountable, because if we don't, they will continue to have their way, have their narrative, and basically screw over the American people, just like the FEMA director and all them are doing of giving our taxpayer dollars to other people. Thank you, Mr. Tracy J. Norby with the super chat. He said, FEMA states they're ready before, during, and after the emergency. Where have they been? It's a slush fund for criminalistic activity. If you can't see it, then it's illegal from top to bottom. Where are the people? 100%. When you have not just one person, multiple people in all different areas that say, we haven't seen FEMA, we don't know where they're at. Everybody, show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. I'm telling you this. We're at an inflection point with the United States. We need new leadership. We need somebody who's going to take charge, put America first, and make sure that our taxpayer dollars isn't wasted. We heard from Elon Musk, who he would be in charge of the government efficiency program if Trump is elected. He said, if we get in, there's 428 federal agencies. We can get by with 99. That would literally be like an 80% reduction. Like insanely huge. You imagine the amount of tax dollars that we would be saving. We would literally be in a surplus. We would be able to pay down our national debt. We would stop letting these dang politicians give our hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to other people besides the American people. We need, to me, there has to be, and I hope this takes place with this government efficiency program, a huge change where people get transparency of where their tax dollars are going. That's what we need. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button so we can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel, y'all. And I'll tell you this, thank you so much to Becky Gavon, Sandra Mario Enzi, Mr. Tracy J. Norby for the super chats. We're going to be making a huge donation to the hurricane victims. I'm telling you what, I love this community. I love what we're doing, and I love that we're coming together to help people out and do more. This channel will be more than just reporting the news. We are going to make our own news, and we're going to do good with that. So thank you for everybody who shares this videos. Thank you to everybody that supports. We love you all, and we are here to serve you. We love you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.